Seagulls and the sea belong together. But there is trouble on German beaches. People and seagulls. They constantly run into each other.
It annoys us. They're definitely getting more aggressive.
It attacks. These are predators. They are always there, the seagulls. And always hungry. Is there nothing that helps? Maybe a stare? The attacks are increasing and the seabirds are getting closer and closer. Even to the cities, far from the sea.
This is really totally amazing. They just noticed roofs are fine.
What's wrong with the lions? Why are they getting more and more cheeky? Warnemünde, Baltic coast. Summer is starting. The wall bar has recently been opened. The seagulls are already there. The beach bar is run by Nemo Borowski. Modern street food is on the menu here. Not only the tourists like it, also the always hungry seagulls.
You'll take good care of the seagulls, won't you? Enjoy your meal. We once stole fries 6 times in one day. No, 5 times. Then here, 2 times chili cheese fries in a Baltic bowl, shrimp sandwich, chili pastrami, 2 times halloumi sandwich. So that's a lot that doesn't even get lost here on the day, yes, through the seagulls.
Whether sweet, salty or spicy, the thieves of the air are greedy for everything. As soon as they spot an unsuspecting victim, they attack. Once in the hunt and feeding frenzy, they are difficult to drive away. They even scare some children. Like gangs, they band together and attack on command. A brave seagull attacks. The rest of the swarm follows and preys on the prey.
We always expect between 10 and 30 attacks a day. It has become more. At the beginning, we said we expected 3 attacks a day, but now we calculate differently. The fries are kept under the table rather than on the table, simply as a protective measure.
Fries on the table, a few inches away from the body. Not a good idea. The seagulls take every opportunity.
In mere seconds, they launch their move. Often, what unfolds is something falling, followed by a collective swarm ready to overtake it.
Airstrikes are one thing, but seagulls can do things differently. They are also real predators on the ground. On the beach, they look for every opportunity to steal.
We always advise at all sporting events that the athletes also store under the tent so that the things are not looted. Your luggage and backpacks and everything you have. What are the seagulls looking for in their food? They're the only pickpockets who aren't after the money.
Predatory birds will peck persistently at anything even remotely appearing edible.
I had my bag recently lying open and I had food in a plastic bag and she just ripped the plastic bag away, so the seagull... A couple of days back, after enjoying some fish rolls, I meandered along the beach unknowingly. Then a seagull came in a rush flight and tore half of my fish bun out of my hand. It's very unscrupulous. Things were distinctly different a full 15 years ago, mainly because such aggressive behaviors hadn't begun. You didn't have to hold your ice cream or your fries.
These are the most well-known species. The herring gull is the cheeky one. You know from the visit to the sea with the red spot on the beak. It is one of the largest European seagulls. A little smaller is the storm gull. It is also widespread. Usually gulls are a little more reserved. The hallmarks of the laughing gull are its hoarse call and dark head. Many seagulls live monogamously in so-called seasonal marriages. They can live up to 30 years. And they eat pretty much everything. Even smaller birds. Kiel Baltic Sea, a hotspot. The rabid seagulls are spreading further and further, says ornithologist Stefan Garth. And so are the thieves.
On the island of Helgoland, there are already, if we did this in the early 2000s, it was reported very regularly and was good to see. That actually didn't exist here in Schleswig-Holstein yet. The island of Sylt was then next, and the Baltic Sea coast was only then used accordingly, so to speak, by the seagulls, so that one can say that it has somehow developed culturally across the areas and is now a standard on the Baltic Sea. And it used to be that didn't exist at all.
There used to be more field. They're also found in the fields. As soon as the farmers work the soil with their tractors, the table is richly set for the seagulls.
The animals actually feed for the most part on earthworms, insects, and small mammals that they prey on agricultural land. And they do that quite often, and that is actually the main food of the kingfisher at the moment. Soon they will start to
Cherries to harvest in large quantities, and that can also make up half of the food in these colors.
Cherries for seabirds? Kind of practical if you... Seagulls are also increasingly attracted to cities. Anything lying around on the floor could be a treat. But food is just one reason. Above all, they come to breed. What appears to be a postcard-perfect scene here in Kiel actually poses a significant challenge for the seagulls. They have no place left to nest, Professor Garter knows. It's all closed. With widespread concrete, small harbors, bustling holiday villages, and agricultural use of coastal greens, options for natural nesting areas diminish.
Animals no longer have their natural habitats, and that is why many species that are not able to adapt to humans are disappearing. Seagulls can do this to a certain extent. They are not afraid of people themselves.
and have learned that they find very similar breeding grounds on flat roofs as on the stony beach or in coastal grassland, and usually breed there completely undisturbed.
If there is no space on the beach, the seagulls move away. On roofs like this. Green, and if there is gravel, you will find it particularly good. Ida and Emma have known this colony for a long time. The two sisters are real Kiel girls. They don't want to know anything about seagull plagues. They like seabirds.
I think it's actually almost an attraction here that you can look up so nicely, especially a little later in the year. So early summer, when the chicks are there, that's always really cute. If you get too close, it definitely annoys the seagulls, and then they become a bit more aggressive. Then they attack them and peck them on the head. Exactly, come very, very close to you. But I also find it understandable, so that you keep a little distance from the children, that's okay.
They are not afraid of the seagulls anyway. And you want to try the stare trick later. From April to July, the seagulls breed here at this residential complex and make everything dirty. For residents and restaurateurs, an annoying time with a lot of scrubbing.
When the raw intensity starts, it is very loud at times. So partly so that if you sit up here and want to have a conversation, you also have to talk loudly to each other. And if they get their rappel at night at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, then it's also good if you have the window closed better.
If it's just as bad, I'm having breakfast and the excrement ends up on my bun. You have to live with it, and you just have to put everything away.
Sounds understandable at first. But a few kilometers away, things are different. The University of Kiel has a real seagull problem. Here, the flat roofs are much larger, and therefore there are also a lot of seagulls. Meals served in the cafeteria have the tendency to become utterly revolting.
Somehow it belongs to Kiel, but it has become too much with the seagulls, I think.
Vehicles often get smeared heavily with seagull waste. If you're on the move with food in your hands, the odds are high of being struck. This year alone, I've been bombed twice, and the cars are persistently filthy. Sometimes the sound of falling debris provides a heads up, but that only makes you fortunate.
Bird expert Stefan Garter has already counted more than 2,000 seagulls at Kiel University. Cleaning costs are high, around 100,000 euros per year. The birds cannot be driven away. The only thing left is to make new roofs as seagull unfriendly as possible. Building management faces major challenges.
We will absolutely refrain from using gravel on new roofs in the future. The gravel primarily serves to weigh down the roof, preventing it from becoming airborne during severe storms. However, gravel will no longer be part of future plans, as it evokes a beach-like scene with no adversaries in sight.
Until then, they say, you have to come to terms with the seagulls. Seabirds have long since become city birds. Because there are cozy flat roofs everywhere. Also at Alexanderplatz in Berlin. On behalf of the city, this group of bird lovers wants to count and ring seagulls today.
The number of seagulls has increased a bit compared to last year. Last year there were, I think, 75 nests. This year there are 87.
These nests are located on the roof of a department store at Alexanderplatz. Clemens Steihoff, ornithologist of the city of Berlin, has been observing this colony for a long time.
The boys are back there, yeah.
These seagulls do not get their food from the city or steal from people. They fish in nearby waters. The colony only comes to this roof to breed.
Actually, they are relatively quiet. You would think these are extreme locations. It's roaring hot. The sun hits it all the time. It's dry. Even after the heavy rain, no puddle remains. Nevertheless, the breeding success is much better. In fact, great gulls lose many young birds in natural breeding grounds due to hypothermia. That all goes away here.
No martins or foxes come to such roofs to get eggs or chicks. The colony has continued to grow in recent years. Young seagulls are counted and banded. This allows information to be gathered about where the seagulls are staying when the breeding season is over.
There come weekly 3-4 reports of birds of the last years in somewhere in Holland, Belgium, Great Britain, Sweden, up to Malta, or Spain. These seagulls are read off. You learn a lot about these birds.
The ringing of the young animals is not entirely without, because the parents see the helpers as a danger. They warn the chicks with screams and then they just run away. If the fence were not there, the boys would fall into the depths. Berliners hardly notice any of this.
The calls of the seagulls are almost lost in the noise of the traffic. They are rather perceived as pleasant, spreading a holiday atmosphere, especially here at Alexanderplatz. And most people don't notice them at all.
The roof at Alex is not the only one with breeding seagulls. About 25 rooftops in Berlin have seagull settlements. The most famous, the Otto Wels house of the German Bundestag, Berlin-Mitte. While the seagulls are usually still peaceful in the cities, a different picture emerges on the coasts. When they don't attack, they beg and do it quite intrusively. In order to reduce the seagull attacks, drastic penalties for feeding are imposed. In Kiel, up to 1,000 euros for repeat offenders. Elsewhere, even up to 5,000 euros.
The locals, i.e. those who live in the area, know that this will turn them into beds and it just gets on their nerves. That's why they wouldn't feed them. Those are the tourists. They're like, oh, how cute, a seagull. And then they would probably feed more. The sentences are the same with ducks, and ducks are, I think, not as aggressive as seagulls, perhaps.
But seagulls don't just beg, steal, or attack. They also look at a lot of people, even discerning which potato chips are tastiest. For a study, biologist Franziska Hacker examines how closely seagulls observe us humans when it comes to food. How clever are their methods? For this, she prepares 2 different colored chip bags.
They are taped so we can prevent the seagulls from actually stealing the packs. Which means if a seagull comes and actually tries to pick it up, she can't fly away with it because the tile just makes it too heavy for her.
The scientist places both sealed bags in front of the curious seagulls. Then she starts eating herself from the green bag of chips. The first seagull is approaching. At first, she seems uninvolved. And then, indeed, she goes to the green bag.
It's just worth looking ahead, especially with food that I may not be that familiar with. Is it edible?
I could taste it myself or mimic others.
Or I can copy it from others. And we assume that they are copying exactly that in this case. Aha, the one over there can eat it, and therefore I can most likely eat it too.
Then she eats from the blue bag. The greedy seagulls, instead of green, now choose blue.
The seagull watching me sees, okay, this bag of chips is interesting, and this other person, in this case, eats it. That is, this bag becomes more interesting because this connection is made between blue bag, food, fits.
A person eating chips makes the bag more appealing by association. About half of the birds is already heavily interested. And 22 of them want to steal the bag of chips of the same color immediately.
The observation and also understanding of human behavior we see mainly in pets.
Pets such as dogs, horses, and goats exhibit understanding of human behavior.
It is very interesting that wild animals such as seagulls, which live in the city but are not domesticated in it, can do this too.
They're basically using us to look at whether it's edible or not. Outside of food context, they disregard humans.
Once a seagull identifies a food source, it persists. This seagull on a British island regularly helps itself in the supermarket. But how can you defend yourself against the intrusive animals? A researcher at the University of Exeter is sure there is a method to keep seagulls in check during their prey raids. Emma and Ida find videos about it on the internet. It's about the stare. For this, Madeleine Gumas provides food to the seagulls. They are approaching fast. But an evil glance makes the seabirds seem to freeze. When maintaining eye contact, seagulls tend to show a heightened level of caution. However, the researcher averts their gaze once again. Zack, attack. Is it possible to intimidate the bold and greedy seagulls in Kiel by using a fixed, intense stare to deter them? This is what Emma and Ida want to try.
I think that intimidates her, and she then realizes that you have an eye on her and that you will react if she gets too close. They are also used to that. Get up and scare her away or something.
Let's see if we can prove it here.
In a bag, Emma presents something delicious to a seagull. Look, here she approaches with her bold and determined demeanor. But at the staring gaze, she stops and dodges first. The next seagull can also be impressed. Even the third seagull refrains from making an attempt, indicating a pause in its boldness.
She will definitely stay. I would think no.
It works with Ida too. Seagulls don't seem to want to be observed when stealing.
When I stared at them, I noticed that they obviously also have different character traits. Some are more shy than others, I would think. And that definitely has an effect on whether you stare at the seagulls and you so directly actually says, hey, stop, this is mine.
But not every seagull is so easily stared away. To the chagrin of many beach guests. Like in the Walbar in Warnemünde. Fries, a sandwich, a targeted seagull attack, and almost 15 euros are gone. The bar owners want to help. With an insurance company, you have agreed a seagull policy. Anyone who is robbed in the elective room will have their food replaced.
There isn't any compulsory insurance in place, making this arrangement quite impractical. A local insurance provider expressed interest in this creative idea, stating their willingness to assist. They even offered a modest monthly fund to cover certain expenses incurred. So every day, between 10 and 30 products come together that we replace, and people are really grateful that we can't relieve them of the worry that they will be attacked by seagulls and their food will be stolen, but we can at least cushion the worry that they will have to go home hungry, and that is worth a lot to us.
Bar operator Nemo predicts a significant increase in seagull incursions targeting his food. And this is where it started, the stealing behavior of the seagulls. Already in early 2000, on Germany's only offshore island, Helgoland, the first seagull attacks on German coasts were observed. To this day, that has not changed. On the contrary, the herring gulls are already notorious here, because they constantly fly solo attacks on unprepared tourists.
So that the seagulls are so cheeky, I didn't think. But we've experienced it ourselves, right? I wouldn't have believed it. Wonderful.
Thilo Vespermann has been running the snack bar Blaue Buden for 4 years.
When you go out, keep an eye on the seagulls.
The saying now applies to all German coasts. The owner underestimated the problem with the seagulls.
Nice on the seagulls.
You should immediately grab an umbrella for safety, considering the hazardous path ahead.
Bon appetit.
Each visitor is welcome to take a seagull umbrella here to shield themselves from potential attacks. You can dine peacefully under the umbrella. There is no other way around here for a long time.
As long as you walk over, the seagulls will come from behind and take your food away, or just bump you so that you drop the food in fright. And that's where my wife's idea came from, to do this with umbrellas. Because that's a simple thing that doesn't cost a lot of money and is a great service, and it works this life.
Without an umbrella, guests are fair game. Getting rid of aggressive seagulls permanently? This is almost impossible. In Germany, seagulls are protected animals. Some communities in Denmark are a bit more rude. At specific times, drones and water jets are deployed to eliminate nests and eggs effectively. But it can also be softer and more seagull-friendly. This can be seen in Tromsø, Norway. The three-toed gull has chosen Tromsø as its breeding town. Narrow ledges and roofs are occupied. They usually breed on cliffs and rock faces outside on the coasts. But the many storms and ocean warming are causing them trouble. A team of researchers and architects wants to help the seagulls find a better place. That's why they came up with mobile stilt scaffolding. Simple constructions with shelves for breeding are intended to keep the seagulls away from the buildings in the Norwegian city.
It's not merely about deterring, but also about adapting to them. We seek to understand their urban lifestyle and use insights on bird needs to ensure better protection.
before there were seagull hotels. A group of 13 seagulls claimed this historic building, nesting and dirtying the spot.
The researchers thought, how do we get them out of the building?
They looked at where the seagulls have nested in nature on narrow crevices of rock. They just built them.
The basic concept is super light construction that can be moved by humans alone and without large machines. We improvised with these specialized skis. We put them under if we want to move them. Although simple, this method proved remarkably effective.
The mobile birdhouses pushed them close to the building. To our amazement, the seagulls relocated successfully to their new hotel. As soon as they arrived at the new home, the researchers pushed the stilt houses away again. The seagulls remained. Now the researchers want to make the project accessible to other plagued communities. Urban planning for seagulls of all kinds. And it shouldn't be expensive at all.
I think it's more expensive if you don't do anything because the seagulls settle on almost every building. Then you have to put nets, so you have to do something to get rid of the birds. Otherwise, you should just consider relocating to the next building or even the one beyond that. The costs would then be enormous. So I think it's worth spending money on. We are at the beginning of a new kind of urban planning with birds. And I think we're ahead of that right now.
New place for seagulls. Be it stilted accommodations or expansive flat rooftops, the seabirds exhibit remarkable adaptability. The communities and cities will get rid of them only with difficulty or not at all. Ida and Emma want more serenity in dealing with the seagulls anyway.
Now, I wouldn't say they annoy me so much that I want them gone. It's not a canal, a colorful, pretty bird with a beautiful cry or anything. Somehow first there, then we come, and you grew up with them just being here, that you might have to be a little careful when you get fish rolls in the summer. I mean, you actually paint, if you want to paint more, then you don't actually paint it without seagulls, do you?
The seagulls. We have to learn to deal with them. There is probably no choice but to come to terms with the cheeky thieves of the air.